Isaac Jury from TidyHQ. Today's office hours, we're chatting with Rick Naylor. He's at the Adamstown Rosebud Football Club up towards Newcastle on the New South Wales, Australia, Central Coast, up in that direction. He's been the secretary of the football club for around 2 years. He's been very frustrated or concerned about all the Word documents and spreadsheets and all the information in people's heads going on for quite some time at the football club. The club's been around for a long time, 130 plus years, which is a long time in Australia or anywhere for that matter. And his main objectives were to try and get everyone connected that's on the committee. And they're a semi-professional football club, so they have semi-professional players that are in the NPL league, all the way down to juniors. So quite a big club and quite a range of players. They also plug into Sports CG for their competition system. So we talk a little bit about the STG connection as well. I hope you enjoy these office hours and the onboarding with the Adamstown Rosebud Football Club.
So, and then we're running out of room on Dropbox, and it's that's just a means of just keeping club data somewhere central, but it hasn't really solved our problem in terms of how we manage information and how we manage the club.
Yeah, we had a similar thing where Dropbox is great, but it also has its problems with handover as well. But there's no structured format, so it works when Rick understands the hierarchy of the folders in there and what data's in there. But when it comes to actually working with the club, it needs some structure. So Isaac slots in as the new volunteer or on the committee, and he understands, okay, this is how committee meetings are run, and there's some structure there. Whereas I know when I ran my first committee meeting, I had no idea what was required and what agendas were, and how to record it all and all those sorts of things. And I dare say I'm not alone with it all. If you don't mind, I'll log into your account and run through things if that's okay.
Yeah.
Let me just share the screen here. So you would have got my list, our agenda, which was a fairly lengthy list, but obviously we'll go through some of it and then we'll touch on some other points depending on what you see as applicable or sort of more attractive than other areas and all those sorts of things. I dare say that you've probably already gone through a bit of it because you've imported contacts and what have you. So just as a starting point, before we get into all these features, we'll head down to the organisation settings. So I think you've already set most of this sort of stuff up. So you've already dropped in all your organisational information. You've already uploaded your logo, all those sorts of things, which is great. Here, you would have spied an activity feed. So this is basically the audit trail for the club. So if you invite another committee person in, like myself, you'll start to see changes here. So if I adjust anything within the platform, you'll have an audit trail.
Okay.
So if something hits the fan or things don't go right, you can understand who did what and those sorts of things. As you start to get members purchasing tickets and memberships or however you use the platform, that information will start living in here as well.
Okay.
With our contacts, so if you decide to use us to register memberships, so most of your players are probably going through Sports TG or your player registration system. Lots of organisations or football clubs use us to do your other memberships, so your corporate memberships or your past player memberships and those sorts of things. If you want, you can enable contact ID, so that's a bit like a membership number that will automatically get generated for every person that joins. And in fact, that contact ID will be for every single person in your database. So what you can do is, if you want membership, for example, we can switch this off and you might want to start at, 20. for example, because you know that everyone that starts with 20 joined after 2020, or something like that. I'll switch that back off for you. Then we've got custom fields. So you've already dropped in one here, which is great. So yeah, there's all sorts of custom fields. So I use custom fields extensively. So for example, I wanted to capture what schools people were coming from. So I understood which schools I should liaise with to work out what my pathways were, or where I should send or try and liaise with, phys ed teachers, or do fundraising events, those sorts of things. To take advantage. So there's all sorts of custom fields here. So text fields, check boxes. So, have they, I don't know what a good example is, but you might want to say, favorite foot to play with, sort of thing. So here you could have, right foot, left foot, those sorts of things, and people can check both or one or the other, those sorts of bits. Radio buttons are similar, but you can only pick one or the other. So I could only pick right or left. I can't pick both. Drop down would, so obviously the same. So I can only pick one of the drop down choices. Date is obviously a date. So date of birth, or date when he became coach, or something along those lines.
And sorry, Isaac, so that just to clarify, so these custom fields are going where?
So they'll go in I'll show you in a second, but they're going in the contact profiles.
Oh, right, okay.
You can also use them for, say, events. So when you're capturing information, so if you run a corporate event, for example, so we'd have fields, like lots of junior football clubs have a question, are you able to volunteer? Or are you open to being a team manager? Or can you help run the canteen? Those sorts of things. So you're capturing all that sort of detail. Or if you're running the corporate lunch, you might want to, would you be open to being a sponsor in the future? Or something along those lines. So you're starting to build up the knowledge of the club.
Okay.
So go through
because I've just printed out a page from one of our many Excel spreadsheets, and so examples of the fields that I've got are so the FFA number is their football number, but if we connect with Sports TG, that will be imported, won't it?
Correct. Yeah.
But then there are other things like working with children numbers.
That's a
sorry, I've got a phone that I'm just trying to. Working with children numbers. If we issue keys to anyone, if they've got keys to the ground.
So working with children numbers is a good one. So it might be text, because it's a number. So
sorry, Isaac, I just better take this call.
No problem.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. You're back. So custom field, like working with children numbers, is a great example. So you can have some helper text here. So if Isaac's registering, you can get him to do it. So what you can actually set here are the visibility options. So if you only want administrators to to update the working with children number, because you want to have a bit of a checksum there to make sure that Isaac's giving you the right information. You might want it admin only.
Yeah.
For working with children, or you could have it as a public profile, so Isaac can update the number himself without getting an administrator involved. Or you could have it as a read only, so it means that Rick can update the number and Isaac can only see it. He can't edit it.
Okay.
Which is a good one with working with children or expiry date, those sorts of things. So it means that the customer or the member can't edit those things. So that's the visibility options
Okay. Yep.
that you have with it. And you can have unlimited custom fields. So we have clubs that have many, many fields for all sorts of things. Working with children through to sponsors, through to, do you want to volunteer? Those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Next is pretty self-explanatory, date, time, currency, which you've already set up. Financial calendar, so you've already set that up as October 1st. Obviously that'll be dictated by the sport. So finance settings, tax, GST is pretty self-explanatory. So here you can put in ABN number and those sorts of things. So this is for invoice number prefixes. So again, if you want it to start with 2020, and this is your invoice number as well. So if you've already got invoicing, you can start from another number. And footer information. So you might want to drop in, if you want, for invoices and those sorts of things. So account numbers, BSB numbers, those sorts of bits and pieces. Or maybe you want a refund policy linked in.
Now, at the moment, our treasurer is using Xero for our accounts, and we've just set up a tap and go facility at our home ground, and that's linked to PayPal.
Okay. Yeah, so we're building an integration into Xero, which should make it a lot easier for your treasurer. And I'll go through the finances and why you could use us to do part of that. The main reason is that it's, again, not siloed. So the problem that I have with Xero, we use Xero ourselves to run Tidy, but it's very accounting heavy and you have to be an accountant to understand it, I think. Whereas what I wanted was something that if we didn't have an accountant as treasurer, you could still have someone doing a really good job as treasurer. And then it would sync up to Xero. So if you need auditing and you have to do heavier things like payroll or tracking assets and liabilities, those sorts of things that Tidy doesn't do, you could do it in Xero.
Well, that's exactly the situation that we're in now, because at the moment our treasurer is an accountant, but he's already flagged that he won't be around next year. So it may be that our next treasurer isn't an accountant. And also, sadly, our club president isn't hasn't got very good financial literacy. So he struggles to interpret the reports from Xero.
So I'll show you the finances area because it might start to make sense with that sort of scenario, because that's literally why I built it. My accountant was in MyOb and it was siloed. So me as president, I rarely knew the actual numbers, which there's criminal liabilities for not knowing that as someone running the club. So I'll show you our finances in a bit, but it sort of simplifies it or dumbs it down, so as to speak. And it's money in, money out, who owes us, and it's cash book accounting. So it's really quite easy to get the report.
Great.
So you can drop all this sort of information into your finances area. And these are categories. So this is a bit like your chart of accounts in Xero world. So here, for example, you might want to include tax as default options for these sorts of things with it all. And you can add as many categories as you like in here for it. On membership, so this is just default text that when you set up a new membership, this will be the default text that gets populated into that membership level. So you can change this. Obviously, once you start editing it for specific membership levels, you need to edit it within the membership levels. Organisation details we've already covered.
Sorry, so with memberships, like one of the other problems that we have is that we've got so our club policy is that all players become members by default when they register on Sports TG. One of their parents by default, one of their nominated parents or guardians by default becomes a parent member. Coaches, team coaches become members by default. Then you have the board of management who are members. And then we've got this other category called individual members. And that's basically everyone else who wants to join. And then we've got life members and then also we want to try and keep a track of all our archived. So, and from 1 year to the next, and the tricky part for us is because our financial year runs from 1st of October to 30 September, our football season, well, this year it's different, but under normal circumstances, our football season would finish in September. But then we're starting to trial players for the next year, but we may not confirm their membership until January or February the following year.
Yeah.
So they're not registered in play football yet.
Yeah.
But we want to create a temporary category for.
Yeah, I'll dig into memberships once we get into it. But we can cover all those scenarios.
Okay. All right.
So we should be okay. I'll just finish the settings. So organisation account owner. So only you get to see this. So if Rick hangs up the boots, so to speak, and Isaac comes in, you can drop in Isaac here and effectively hand over the keys of Tidy to someone else.
Okay.
Payment settings. So this is how you get paid through the platform. So I don't know if you ended up setting up a Stripe account.
No, because I wanted to talk to our treasurer first.
Sure. So setting up a Stripe account's free. It doesn't cost you anything if it just sits there and doesn't do anything. It's just another way to get paid. It's a bit like PayPal, but easier. And it automatically connects to your existing bank account rather than PayPal, which has an intermediary PayPal account.
Yeah.
Which can be a bit frustrating sometimes. Stripe will go straight into your bank account every week. So just hit connect with Stripe once you've got the okay from your treasurer. Public page details, you've already uploaded a nice photo and all those sorts of things. So depending on whether you use us as a website or just as your membership and event portal, you can adjust these bits here, which is easy. Contact us page. So contact us page, what we've found is if you're putting names and phone numbers and emails on a website, we have seen clubs get spammed a lot as a result of it. So I'd actually tread with caution with the contact us page. Broadly speaking, you can still put an email address, the generic email address on your page if you like. But once you put in public contacts, you're asking for a level of spamming or phishing emails. We've seen quite malicious type phishing campaigns against some of our, presidents and secretaries, etc. So just tread carefully with that contact us page.
Yeah.
And then sponsors is pretty self-explanatory as well. So you can add whoever your sponsors are.
So just go back to the public facing page again.
Yeah.
So is it possible that could become a page within our existing site?
Yeah, correct. So what some groups do is say, if you want, you can say this is our membership and events portal or something like that, or administration membership and events portal. What's your actual website?
It's Adamstown Rosebud fc.org.au.
Rosetown.
Adamstown Rosebud. Adamstown Rosebud.
All one word?
All one word. Rosebud. fc.org.au.
.org.au.
No, but yeah, I can fix that. That's,
Sorry, I've missed. Oh yeah.
yeah, there's a few spelling. Mr. Adamstown, rosebudfc.org. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, cool. So here we can just try and redirect people. So I'll just add a link here.
Yeah.
And what you can do is make it open up in a new
New
window if you like.
Yeah.
And now people can head off. So effectively, you're treating this as a portal,
Okay.
just for these things.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can link out to this TidyHQ account from your existing website for sure,
Yeah.
which is what lots of people do. So heading back through each of the feature areas. So this, as you can see, is just your dashboard. Once we start adding invoices, expenses, you can have events will appear here, meetings will appear here, any transactions that happen in tasks. So one of the neat things that we've rolled out recently is you can just click on one of the dates here, and let's just say set up a Stripe account is one of the things that we want to get done. So you can assign it to yourself, or what's your job position? Was it secretary?
Secretary.
Yeah, so I can drop in the secretary. So whoever happens to be secretary at that time will get this notice. So if Isaac becomes secretary, I'll start getting this notice.
Yep.
Which is kind of neat because it becomes the succession plan for you.
Yes. Yep.
Set up Stripe so we can get paid. Oops. Doing well with the spelling, aren't I? Oops. So you can set up this task. So this ends up being, so as a president, I would look at this dashboard to give me a heads up as to what's going on around the club. What have we got lined up? What meetings do we have? What fundraising events do we have? And those sorts of things. So it becomes your social calendar and administration calendar. The rest up here is pretty self-explanatory. How many members have been registered, contacts. So this won't pick up your Sports TG player registrations. It'll just pick up obviously what's been registered through Tidy.
So where will the Sports TG memberships go? Where will they end up?
So I'll show you now. So yeah, the rest of the dashboard's pretty self-explanatory, I think. So STG's just been dropped in as contacts, and what we'll do is we'll group the contacts based on the information that's been passed over from STG. So in here, you've obviously already set up a bunch of people.
Yeah, so I just was playing around, and I just imported our senior players just to play around with that. So I've just brought that in from Excel.
Yeah, great. So yeah, and what you can also do is, once STG is connected, it'll start automatically populating this contacts area. It'll also group people based on some of the criteria from STG as well. And so what you can actually do is put in advanced filters. So there'll be a Sports TG field here, as you can see. So we'll have, so you can filter by Sports TG member ID, or there's lots of other Sports TG fields here as well that you can do it with. Yep. You can also do stuff like date of birth. So if date of birth is, I don't know if you've got any date of births in here, 1990, for example, you can filter people. And so you can start to group people based on their date of birth. So if you want to send a communication to everyone that was born before 1990 because you've got some old players event or something, you can send a communication directly to those people. So this becomes really interesting when you start to get more dynamic with it. So seasons played, for example, I wanted to email everyone that played before 2000, for example, to come back to our reunion. One of the other things that I used to use groups for, so you can have unlimited groups as well. So a bit like what you've already done here, which is great, is that I'd set up the 1984 Premiership team. Or do you call them Premiership teams? For example, so everyone that was involved with the success for 1984 Okay. And what you can do is start to populate everyone in here. So for me, again, I knew that we'd won a flag in 1984. And I was tasked with, oh, you should have a reunion. You know, it's been 30 years or what have you. You should have a reunion. Yes, agreed. How do I get in contact with them? And it, like you said, the Bush Telegraph, where call Bushy, he'll call Racca. Racca knows the old president that played with the captain, etc., etc. Whereas that wasn't good enough for the club. The club should have all those names, all those numbers, all those email addresses. So the idea here is that you can group people however you like. And so one of the challenges that I gave one of the old guys at the club was, because he had it all in his head and in his phone. So I gave him the challenge of, okay, set up a group for every year and start populating them with names. And that way we can start to fill out our database. And so when it comes to communication, which I'll show you in a second, it makes it much easier. So let's just put in this 1984 side. You can delete this later on if you like.
Yeah.
Everyone that played in 84. We'll save that. We're just going to add, we'll add you to that, just for now.
Yeah.
And I'll show you how we can do it. So communication is the next section. So we also sync up with MailChimp, which you may be using for sort of more professional newsletters that have lots of templates and analytics and what have you. We do email as well, but it's really, really simple. So for example, if I want to email just everyone that went to our 1984 side, reunion, I can't spell it. Let's celebrate. Those sorts of things, and you can format this pretty quickly, so you can, drop in formatting, you can drop in images and all sorts of things. You can add attachments as well, so PDFs, flyers, whatever you like. And this will send out an email, which looks pretty decent, but it means that the job can get done very, very quickly, which is my big issue with my club, was that it was like pulling teeth sometimes getting out newsletters, because it was quite a complex thing working with MailChimp. And unless someone knew how to use that service, it didn't happen too often. Yeah. But this way you can send a really nice email.
And so what will be, the person who receives this, what will the sender's email be?
So the sender will be the email under organization settings. So that'll just be your generic, I think it was secretary. I think you've set it up with secretary at.
Oh, okay.
But you could change that to info at.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So yeah, it'll come from your club's email. What we also do is we'll have a unique part of that email. It'll still look like your official info at Rosebud email address, but it'll be a unique email. So if Isaac replies to it, we'll start to thread that communication for you, for the club. So I'll just send this so you have it in your inbox when you get out of this. So we've now sent that email. If Rick was to reply to this email, it'll all be threaded in here. So you have a communication thread from your recipients, and it's all within it. So you can reply back to Rick saying, great to hear. Look forward to seeing you. Obviously, you're writing back to yourself, but you get the idea. So you can run all the communication through here, and it's a bit like what we're trying to do with the inbox, or where we'll be taking it, is more of a communal inbox. So the idea is that for generic sort of club communication stuff between inquiries and parents and players and all those sorts of things, it means that not only Rick can help, but Isaac can help sort of farm out those emails and all help in communicating back to people together. We're also keeping a record of all the sent email that goes through our platform. So if you're sending out events, invites, or meeting agendas, those sorts of things, we're capturing all that sort of information as well, which will be in the archives with it. So that's communication. So really simple and rudimentary to bits and pieces. So this is the finance section, as I was saying. So if you don't mind, I'll pretend that we'll send out an invoice and we can cancel this later. But like I said, if you want to accept payments online, we need to connect Stripe. So that's what this is telling us. But if we'll send out an email to Rick, an invoice, sorry, and it's due at the end of the month. So this number here has been automatically generated from those settings that we set up previously.
Yes. Yep.
So here is, it's a dummy invoice line item. So you can delete this later on. It's for $100, and it's for administration. You can include tax if you want, and the system's automatically populating all those bits and pieces. You can set up a bunch of information in here. I don't know if you've got who's someone else. So you can send out bulk invoicing as well, which is something that Xero doesn't do completely well. So if you want to invoice a team, for example, you can do sort of team invoicing through here. So for me, we'd have an end of season dinner, for example, and I'd try and get players there, and there'd be lots of IOUs being thrown around, bits of names on bits of paper at the, behind the bar. So I'd actually pick up all those names and I'd drop them all into here. And so that way I'd send an invoice to 10 people all at once for the end of season corporate dinner, which was $200 a ticket times, and their partner. So we were chasing 4 or 5 grand's worth of tickets. And quite often, usually it would rely on Isaac remembering and chasing people, which wasn't very successful. As soon as I sent an invoice to people, they knew that they were being chased and that they'd pay. Just that mechanism was happening. So here we can complete and send it. So I will send it to you. So you'll have it in your inbox again. And what we're doing now, so pretend that you're the president. So Xero is effectively the reconciling or the summary of all the financial matters that are going on at the club. Whereas this is sort of the operational level. So if you think of it as a cafe, this is their point of sale system. And their accountants sitting at their accounting office doing the sort of summary in Xero. So here, as president, I'd come to the awaiting payment section and look who owes us and who do we owe. And this way I'd understand what the net position is of the club, what's outstanding. And here if Rick turns up, so we can either print this out for him, so it'll print off a PDF that we can send out to him. We can also hit a reminder and either send him an email to his email address, or we can even copy and paste this and send him an SMS or however you want to share this URL for him. So that'll go to that public. So I can again open up this invoice and I can print it here. If you had Stripe connected, I could also, there'd be a pay button here as well. Click and pay. So everything can be sort of democratized as to who we're chasing with stuff. So if you want to add a payment, so let's say Rick walks into the club, he's only got $50 cash, for example. So here I can say, paid over the bar or whatever you want to say. You can send Rick a payment notification for that $50 cash, if you like. I won't do that because you're going to have an abundance of emails. But now you can see that there's $50 paid over by cash and there's $50 outstanding. So it means that, and obviously you can invite a number of people and you can restrict permissions to people of these areas. So obviously you don't want everyone to have access to finance.
So that was going to be my next question. So what's best practice in terms of who gets access to what?
So broadly speaking, for me, for finances, obviously every club's different, but I'd only let the president, secretary, and treasurer have their fingers in finances, and everyone else, I wouldn't. But that was just my club. So maybe some other clubs, it's just who's responsible in inverted commas. Everyone's responsible. It's just, how far you spread the risk of people doing the wrong things in finances. And so here you'll start to see transactions. So that $50 in cash is already been recorded. So we're starting to build up. And so this is a bit like your bank statement. So you can understand where all the money's coming from. And now in transactions, you can see that we've got $50 and it's come from that administration fee. So again, we're starting to build up a bit of a picture for the club as to who's got what. So for me, again, as president, I'd come in here, I'd look at the dashboard. Okay, what's our net cash position? Who owes us money? How much money are we owed? What's our net position there? And at least, even with limited financial knowledge or awareness, I'd have a pretty, good understanding as to what's going on with the club without getting into nitty gritty of assets and liabilities and all the zero stuff.
So when this does eventually integrate with Xero, are we able to import existing data from Xero into this?
No, so what we'll be doing, and obviously we're still building it, but it'll be effectively one way. So again, taking that point of sales cafe example, so it'll be similar to that where it's just sharing sort of end of day type numbers up to Xero. So it means that the accountant can do all the reconciling in Xero, but all the nitty gritty will be in Tidy, but it's sort of more one way.
So in terms of looking at that overview financial position, for that to be an accurate reflection of where we're at, we'd have to give it a starting point.
Yeah, correct. So what lots of groups do is that they put in they call it a deposit, and they call it, bank balance as of 9th July 2020, and there we've got $12,000 in the account or what have you, and then that's the starting point for it.
All right.
I won't do that just yet. So you can run through, and this gives anyone. The other cool thing that we do, which is again why it's a bit of a positive over Xero, is that you can share these cash flow reports. So for the committee meeting, you want everyone to know who owes us money or what happened in the last month. So this way you can share it with Rick, for example. And you can say can view, and I can send him a record of it. So here, this is the view of the cash, and you can obviously export it out as a CSV or you can print it as well.
That's terrific. That's
with
good.
the cash flow report. So here, you can have a shared view of it all, which is pretty neat. Memberships. So we'll do one of your memberships level. So we call them membership levels for these membership forms. So one of the memberships that you had was, say, past players, for example. So this is why they purchase a past player membership, or maybe this is just an administration type membership level, which I'll run you through. And you might want to, you get a beanie and whatever else as part of the membership. So here you can define how these memberships are. So we have two types of memberships. They're either fixed period memberships. So if it starts on, say, the 1st of July every year, it will run. So even if I sign up today, my membership will start from the 1st of July. Rolling just means, which is better for non-playing memberships, it's just easier, is that Isaac purchases today, it goes for 12 months from today. So past player type memberships or corporate memberships, it'll obviously depend on who your targets are. But rolling's quite often easier for non-playing. So this is how much you charge. It's $100. It's going to be part of so this is the financial category that we're dropping it into. Auto renew means that, and this is what clubs do well or poorly, is that every year you'll just charge the past players another $100 for being a past player, which has worked really well at my club, where it's probably the most expensive running hat that I buy. But they just charge me every year. So here, this is where you can add additional. So for example, past players, you really want to capture occupation because you want to sort of leverage that information at the club. So for your corporate days, or I don't know, you need to get some plumbing fixed, you want to know who the plumbers are that you can reach out to. So capturing that sort of information. Again, this is your custom field, so you can have unlimited. So you might have school in here, or what gender or anything like that in here as well.
Yeah.
So this is your waiver, or you can call it terms and conditions, or what have you with it. And this is all your welcome messaging and renewal messaging that you'll send out to people. So Isaac purchases a past player membership. He'll get all this information. And you've got all these merge tags as well. So you can drop in here the membership name. So for example, welcome to the past player membership,
Gotcha.
for example.
Okay. Yep.
So you can send out renewal reminders, 10 days before the membership expires, saying, hey, we hope you've had a great season. Thanks for supporting the club. Look forward to you being a member for next year. And it will get sent out. And you can send out all sorts of other messaging around that. If you've got someone that's, the past player liaison, or, who's in charge of the past players club or what have you. So again, we'll just use you as our bunny. So Rick can get a message for every past player that signs up. So he can welcome him back into the club and say, great to have you back on board. 2020 is going to be a successful year, and all those sorts of things. And this is visibility. So you can make the membership open to the public. For life memberships, I'd keep it administration only. So only administrators can add people to the membership, can see the membership. So life members is a great example. You don't want Isaac signing up as a life member, but you need to record it so it's not just on the clubroom wall who the life members are. So you can change the membership here. And Facebook Pixel ID. So if you're advertising your memberships online, if you're getting to that level, you can track how successful those Facebook advertising campaigns are. With it all, which is pretty neat.
So what about players who just leave our club and go elsewhere? They're no longer members, but they're basically archived players. Where do they?
So again, that's exactly why I built it. So I wanted to keep history of that, because I wanted to keep them in the fold and keep inviting them back and all those sorts of things. They're a part of our history. My problem with STG was that we kept that clean because it was part of our affiliation fees, insurance, etc. So that was, STG was strictly current players only, and we'd weed them out every season. So the idea here is that you're keeping all contacts. So whether they're players, not past players, mums, dads, whoever, is with Tidy, so they don't leave. So we call everyone a contact, and then some of them might be a member for a period of time. So I think of it as a token. So Rick's a contact, and he might be holding a membership token for a period of time, and we call him a member while he's holding that token. As soon as that token expires or it's cancelled, he lets go of that token, but Rick's still a contact.
Okay. So in the contacts where I've created all those groups, I've created basically all those squads. Does that mean they would stay there, and then next year there'd be a whole bunch of 2021 squads?
Yep, exactly.
And then over time, that group list would just get
longer
bigger
and longer and longer. Exactly.
Okay.
And so what we're doing with those advanced filtering as well is that you'll be able to generate groups from those filters. So for example, everyone that was a member in 2020 will be in a dynamic group called 2020 what's a good example? Yeah, like the birth date one's a good one. Like everyone that was a member before 2000 is part of the Rosebud Club, and everyone that was after 2000 is part of the Adamstown Rosebud Club or something like that.
Okay.
So you can start to get more dynamic with all of it. But yes, you'll end up with lots of groups, or we call them tags, for people. So Rick can be tagged in lots of different ways. So he might be part of the 2020 under 18s. He might have also been an umpire. He might have also been on the committee, for example. So another group here that you might want is 2020 committee or executive, if that's what you call them, which is pretty self-explanatory.
Yep.
So in here, again, you might want to add Rick.
Yep.
And Isaac and whoever else is on the executive. And again, the goal is to keep a really finite view of your history, of all the people, all the stakeholders that sort of helped the club throughout the years. So it sounds like you're similar to my club in that I'd say, it was just sort of stories, the Bush Telegraph telling me that Rick was president 20 years ago for 5 years, and he busted his guts to put lights in or something. And we'd have no history of that. We'd have no idea who the president was. It might be on the wall, but it didn't. I had no contact information. So the goal here is to record all those sorts of bits and pieces.
And so with contacts, then it doesn't matter that list of groups is going to get really, really long.
We've got some clubs that have been with us 7-8 years now, and there's pages of groups.
Okay.
Because you can tag people in lots and lots of ways, which is totally fine. So the reason that you'd have lots and lots of tags is for communication, to make it easier to communicate. So if you want to, like that example, communicate just to the 84 side, or maybe you just want to send it to the 2020 executive, or maybe you've got the 2000 executive that did you want to get them back as a bit of a reunion, as a bit of a thank you, because in 2000 you got new club rooms or something. So you can have
one example that springs to mind is last year we had our 130th anniversary ball, and we had about 280 people who came to that ball. But I'm sure that the person who organised the ball will soon lose that list. So we need to capture that list. So whoever's organising the 140th ball is able to access that information.
Exactly. So I'd import all that information into here. I'd also, so every past player event, I'd have a spreadsheet or a piece of paper where I'd get everyone to write down their name, email and phone number at least. And then I'd drop it into Tidy with it all. So I'm always trying to populate the database with more and more information. So that's memberships, and I'll just go into tasks. We've sort of already covered it with this, but this is the sort of power of it, is that you can assign it to a role, not just an individual. So that was one of the areas that we should cover, is admins and roles. So here you can set up all the different roles that you have in your executive. So another one's president, for example. You can do, all the roles and I can't spell today, responsibilities, etc. Do things, talk well, present well, inspire, etc. You can do all those sorts of things. And the advantage is as soon as, Rick becomes president, I'm not dubbing you in, you can just transfer ownership sort of thing of the role over. And so all the tasks that were assigned to that president are now assigned to Rick.
Yeah.
And so Rick would start getting all the reminders to get things done.
Yeah.
So here, and again, at the AGM, you can print out these roles. So
this is great because we about a year ago we experimented with Asana.
Oh yes, yep.
And that lasted 5 minutes.
Yeah,
and then we've got a project manager who's on our board, and he uses Smartsheet in his business.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one.
We started using Smartsheet, but Smartsheet worked for some people, didn't work for others, and that all fell over too.
Yeah, so again, that was my experience where the big nerdy tools, which I love. So I love Trello and Asana and all these big, heavy things. The reality is that we're dealing with volunteers who work part-time, casually. They're doing it. So our busiest times are Sunday evenings on the platform. So some of our busiest times are Sunday evenings, and throughout the workday, like at lunchtime, we can see people getting online and doing stuff with us.
Yeah.
And sort of Tuesday evenings, Wednesday evenings is when people are dealing with the club. So as a result, it needs to be really simple. So without being ageist, we have users in their 80s that use us because it's sort of simplified to a point that it's anyone, regardless of tech, for the aptitude. Whereas Asana, you have to be. I find that you have to be all in, and you have to have that headspace with it. But the reality is that we're not dealing with people that are trained 9 to 5, and we have them from 9 to 5 to work out how Asana works. You've got them for 20 minutes on a Tuesday evening. It's got to be that simple.
Yeah.
Just some other areas. So you've already got STG connected or in the process of being connected. So MailChimp, I don't know if you use MailChimp, but you can sync up groups.
We used to use MailChimp, but with our website is a WordPress website, and so I've just started using a plugin called MailPoet for our newsletters.
Yep.
And the benefit of MailPoet is it's internal within the website, so it's not going out to an external provider like MailChimp.
Yeah, so it sounds similar to our, the same sort of reason why people would use us instead of MailChimp is for the same reasons. So that's all in one place, so it makes it easy to work out. If you do decide to go back to MailChimp, you can sync up. You've got Zoom for meetings, which I'll cover off in a second. So I'm in Victoria, so everyone's going to be going back to remote meetings. So Zoom's obviously helpful there. You can use us as a shop if you like to sell merchandise and whatever else you want through it. Pages you probably won't use because you've got WordPress, but some clubs use us as the website. Again, the reason that they use us is because it's all in one place and it's super simple. WordPress, I'm a bit of a WordPress fanboy myself. I love WordPress, but it is kind of complex, and all these plugins and all the singing and dancing that it does is good, but it's also very complex. So depending on your club, kind of need a tech person to update it and maintain it. And most clubs find that once you put some analytics around it, most clubs, their main communication channel is actually Facebook, and the website's usually pretty static because that's all it needs to be. It's just a portal for players to work out how to register or where to go. You might update who's on the committee sort of once a year. You update the history and the committee people, and what events are happening, so I can buy my tickets. Those sorts of things. It's a bit of a more static portal, whereas Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, etc., that's where all the action's happening. So that's why you use us.
We've just got into bed with a mob called Geo Snapshot.
Oh yes, I know.
You've heard of them?
I have.
For match day photography. So we're trying to make, and for all those reasons you've just said, we've just tried to make our website more dynamic.
Yep.
So we're starting to upload all of our photographs, past and present and future, and encouraging players and supporters to go to the page and then buy the photographs.
Yeah.
And then 70% of the photo sales comes back to the club.
Yeah, great.
So again, it's a pathway with Geo Snapshot, and then that money just goes straight. That 70% goes straight into our bank account.
Mm-hmm.
So the financial system here won't pick that up. We'd have to.
Yeah, you'd have to manually
to
record
deal
a
with
new
that
deposit.
separately.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's just financials, new deposit, and record Geo Snapshot. So that would be a customer or as a company. And
Yeah,
then
right.
you just say, new deposit, Geo Snapshot gave us $600 or
Yeah,
what
right.
have you.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can move over to us, but right now it sounds like WordPress is doing the job for you. But yeah, more than happy to help you come across if you decide. So you can use your own web domain with us as well, obviously. So you can have adamstownrosebud.org.au here. You can also use custom domains with us, which we can cover in another call once we get down that far. Events. So I'll run through events and meetings for you. So we'll just add events, and I'll show you meetings as well, because meetings is a bit of a loved area. Just quickly. The other areas that we have is storage. So this is a bit like Dropbox, but not as slick as Dropbox, of course. But my problem was, the reason that it's here is, again, I needed some things like club constitution and where the last marketing doc was and all those sorts of things, which may be on Dropbox. We would like to build a sync up with Dropbox. We've got sort of a light integration with Dropbox, which I'd like to fill out. So we've got storage here. Zapier, we've only just started playing with.
So with storage, of how much storage are you providing?
25 gig.
Okay.
We haven't had a club go more than that, but if you do, just let us know.
Yeah,
we're pretty liberal on that front.
Mm.
Zapier, and there's a few other tools here that you might find useful, but I'll just run over our events and meetings real quick. So events, we can do a corporate, what sort of corporate day do you have? Corporate golf day, let's say. I don't know if I've got a good photo. Do we have a desktop? I might have cleaned it all out. Let's just find a photo for you. Oops. Where's a good photo? Oops, golf. There we go. Download this one. To the desktop. So I'll just show you where this is. So this won't be your golf course. We'll have it in Rosebud, Victoria. So you get that all the time. So you set your date for your event. So it's on the 1st of August. It's going to go from 11 a.m. through to 6 o'clock. Great day of golf. Oops. And you can drop in your sponsors' logos and whoever else down here in the description. So I know you've got Volkswagen, and Coca-Cola, Coke, etc. So you can drop in here your image of for your golf day. And so this is where you can put in some paid tickets. So let's say you've got a non-members ticket, which is, there's 100 of those, and we'll charge $100 for them. And you might have a members ticket as well. And there's 100 of those, but they're only paying $50 because they're a member and they're good people. So what we can do here is we can actually requires a membership of any level. So that way they have to purchase a membership to get a reduced ticket price and things like that. You can also add a schedule, like an agenda, breakfast briefing is at 11, and then we've got a tee off is at 12, and then present Rick with the win it trophy, and then that's at 1,700.
Yeah.
Last drinks is at 1,800.
Okay.
For example, so you can set up your agenda like so.
Yeah.
We don't need that last one. So we'll drop all these tickets into, this is the finance category. So you might want to set up different categories for different events. So groups, events - golf day, for example. And then you can collect attendee information. So per ticket, we want to be collecting mobile phone number. We want to collect their occupation for the same reasons we've already discussed, and it's required in both. Maybe it's optional for non-members, or we don't even bother showing it for non-members.
Okay. Yeah.
Those sorts of things. And we're automatically going to group them as well. So the idea of auto adding them to a group is that maybe you have a corporate fishing day or something, but presumably everyone that came to the golf day are pretty good candidates for coming to that fishing day. So that way you can, again, get targeted with your communication.
Yeah.
And you can also do a venue limit here. So maybe there's only 100 people allowed on the golf course. So you can drop all that in. So I'll just create this event now for you and show you what it looks like. So this is our event. Once people start buying tickets, we'll have a list of transactions, all these tasks. So this becomes I'll show you. So booking the golf course. We'll assign this to the secretary, of course. Actually, that's a person. So we'll do it to the actual position.
Yeah.
And it's due back here, for example. So actually, let's have a look here. Maybe I can't do it right now. Anyway, that up. Again. So there's Rick. So what you can do is set up a bunch of tasks here. Get the flags or what have you. Poor old Rick's going to get a whole lot of tasks.
That's familiar.
Yeah. So, that needs to get done next Wednesday. So, and what we can do is, so next year when Isaac comes to organise this event, he can just duplicate this event. So job's half done. At least I have an idea as to what needs to get done for this event.
Yeah.
And as things get marked off, they'll get ticked off as having been done.
Yeah.
Here will be a list of all the attendees that have purchased tickets, and then we can share this event once we publish it. So I'll just publish it now just to show you what it looks like. So here we set up your golf day. Actually, I'll just go back and edit this. Because we haven't got a payment gateway yet, none of the priced tickets will show. So I'll just make this $0 just to show you. I'll just refresh this. So now I can buy tickets. I can only get the non-members because I don't have a payment gateway just yet. So, and you can share this event out to Facebook or Twitter or what have you with it.
So when we share it, so they'll get a link and that will take them to that page that I just saw.
Yeah, it will take them to this page here. And then they can click get tickets and they can go through and purchase a ticket. They add in their details and proceed to payment. So this is a required field, so I need to fill this out to take the next step. And the next step, once you've got Stripe, is the credit card form to get it all. And then they'll get an email with a receipt and a PDF of the tickets for the golf day. Okay.
That's great. One of the things that just crossed my mind is that every year we hand out season passes for our first grade games. And these are members within the club and life members who are entitled to season passes for free. They're freebies.
Mm-hmm.
And we print little cards and laminate them and physically distribute them. Is there a way that we can do something through this to do that?
Yeah, we don't publicize it, but we've got digital membership cards as well, which you can switch on per membership level. So you might not want all membership levels to have them, but it is another option that we can switch on for you. So within a membership level, so if it's for life members, for example, that might be a poor example because it's a private sort of membership. But if Isaac's purchasing as a corporate member, for example, so for $200, I get my corporate membership and I also get a digital membership card, which gives me access. So you can definitely do that. It might not work as well in the life memberships because life memberships are hidden effectively from, if Isaac's a life member, it's hidden from me. So I don't get to see it as well. So that's events, and I'll just show you meetings real quickly. So let's run your next committee meeting. Where is it? Newcastle Football Club or somewhere?
Yep, that'll do.
Lambton. Yep. Again, you can. My computer's so slow right now. Just save that. It's next Tuesday. It starts at 6 p.m. and it goes till 7. So this is when you can install Zoom as well. So this is how you can run these meetings remotely. Let me just go. Our regular meeting, run over all of the things, etc. Of course, our old mate Rick will do everything. And I don't think you have Isaac in here. But anyway, someone else will be the minute taker. And then you can set up your agenda. Obviously, Rick's doing everything. So you can choose the type of, why is everything so slow here? For noting, you can set the duration. We're going to spend 5 minutes doing the opening.
Okay, yeah.
So you can do finances. We can do event finances. We can do memberships, for example. We can do sponsorships. You know, this is what we're talking about. And then we can say meeting closed. And what you can do is you can set these up as sub items as well with it. And we'll create this meeting. And obviously you can fill out all the other things for owners and actions, etc. And if I start this meeting, let's just pretend we're there. So what the secretaries do is that they put this up on the big screen. If you have this, or obviously if you're in Zoom, you're doing it like I am now with sharing the screen. So Rick opened the meeting with style. You can add attachments, you can add decisions. You can add in tasks as well. So when I was running my committee meetings, I'd shoot from the hip and say, all right, Rick, you need to go get new balls. Mark, you need to get new flags. John, you're setting up the new goalkeeper program. And I'd shoot a lot from the hip, and some of it would get recorded. A lot of it would get recorded, but the follow-up part of it and the chasing people usually often would happen if I turned up to training and remembered, or it would happen at the next committee meeting when we followed up. Whereas what we're going to do here is that we can assign the tasks as we run the meeting to make it a lot faster. So you can run through the meeting. Why the secretaries love it is because you've got everything up on everyone's looking at the same screen on the same page. So it means that the agenda gets followed as opposed to Rick going off and talking about how he likes those balls instead of these, Nike balls are better than Adidas balls or whatever it might be, which typically is why committee meetings take far too long.
Yeah.
And so if we, so for example, lock in Volkswagen as a sponsor, for example, assign it to our old mate Rick, and it's due at the end of the month. Whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bad decision, by the way. So we'll save and close that meeting. So as a secretary, well, you probably know it well, is that job takes forever because I'm writing it in hand, then I have to put it onto a Word, then I have to PDF, then I have to remember everyone that came to the meeting. It takes forever.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas what the system's just done is that it's automatically collected all that information.
Mm-hmm.
And I can now share the meeting minutes with Rick and whoever else that I want through here.
Yeah.
And what the system will do is that it'll print off meeting minutes that are automatically formatted to an ASX level formatting. So there's summary of matters arising, what decisions were said, what tasks were dished out. So as a secretary, as you'd know, that job is automatically reduced by hours, a click of a button. So it's a game changer. So if Rick's trying to hand off the job of just being, so my thing was delegation's key to running the club, and I want 15 people helping me run the club, not 5. So for Rick, I want Rick to be the secretary, but Rick's allowed to delegate the job of just being minute taker. So for me, I'd rope people in because I'd say, Rick, you've got one job for me all year. I won't bother you with anything else. I just want you to record the meeting minutes at committee meetings. That's it. You're the minute taker, not secretary. And what I'm effectively doing is grooming you into being secretary in a year or two. But it means that there's an easy place to start. And what it's also meant is that Rick is secretary, because typically it takes 4 hours to run the meetings and then put the minutes together, etc. We're reducing that down to minutes after a meeting's closed. Job's done. So it means that he's got more time to either enjoy his family or do other things for the club, chase sponsors or apply for grants or doing all those other things that secretaries typically end up doing. So meetings ends up being a very loved part of our platform because it means from a governance perspective as well, your job's done, work's done. So it's a bit
and
of a game
so
changer.
the committee members themselves, they'll have access, and so they can go in to the data at TidyHQ at any time and see minutes from the last meeting, previous meetings.
Yeah, so it depends on their permissions again, but yes, they'll be able to come in here and tweak these.
So so committee members, so I just forget now. So at some point when I'm setting them up, I'm determining their level of access. Is that right?
Correct. So if I go over here to admins and roles, so you invite, let's just invite Isaac at TidyHQ, for example.
Yeah.
I can give him full access to everything.
Yeah.
Or I can, my computer's been slow, but I can take areas away. So I don't want him to be able to communicate with people. He's running events, so I need him to run events. So I don't want him to get into finances or meetings even, memberships.
Yeah.
I need him to have access to tasks because we're going to dish him out some. And I won't get him access to settings. So you can switch all that up.
Yep.
And then hit invite for him.
Yep. Okay.
So yeah, you have complete control over that.
And so when I drill down to individual teams, so coaches and managers of, say, like the under 15s side, would I be inviting them into this, or?
So yeah, we're yet to put in more finite controls around contacts and things like that. So if they've got access to contacts, they've got access to everyone. So usually it depends on the personalities involved. well, that's the way I frame it anyway, is that, Isaac's a responsible guy. He's got his head switched on. We're inviting him on, but typically I invite just the committee and team managers. So for example, for the team manager, if I want to print out, let's find someone that has someone. So this 84 side, let's pretend you're the team manager. And what you can do here is, oops, actually that's a lie. Let's go here. What I can do is I can filter by the group. So filter by the 1984 side. Hold on. Maybe I've, and I can export them out. So I can send an email now to you with a spreadsheet of all my players.
Oh, okay.
So I can, if I don't want them to have access to all the things, I can just send them just their team list, for example.
Okay. Yeah.
And so now you'll see on the dashboard that we've got a bit of a heads up understanding as to what's going on around the place for the club. So I can understand, okay, there's a committee meeting coming up on the 14th. There's all these tasks here that need to get done. This invoice was sent out. That's due later in the month, and there's this event coming up towards the end of the month. So as a president or whoever, I feel like I've got a little bit more in control because I know what's going on around the place with it all. And again, quite often we find that the committee works asynchronously. So the president is sort of dives in and out throughout his workday into club stuff, like what you're describing. And that's how I worked as well, is that, and a lot of people that are typically on the senior committee, people are managers or business owners or leaders of some variety in their community. So one, it means they get stuff done, but two, it means that they can do things throughout the day, or they do things throughout the day. So quite often it means though that they're working in silos. So Rick isn't going to get on the phone to Isaac through the day, but he knows that, oh geez, I forgot about that task. I'll just, while I'm at work, I'll allocate that Isaac to pick up the new balls. There's 50 Nike brand, for example, and Isaac's not in here yet. But it means that you can assign stuff throughout the course of the day really quickly.
And so when you've done that, you've assigned that task.
Yep.
And assuming that you were getting that task, would you then get an email prompt reminding you?
Yeah, exactly. So Rick, unfortunately, when you go back to your inbox, you're going to have a myriad of emails now. Apologies. But a bunch of them will be tasks. So it'll say, hi, Rick has allocated this task, Isaac, to pick up the new balls to you. It's due on the 22nd of July. Click here if it's already been done, basically. And the same will happen when I shut down the meeting. It'll send out all those tasks that were allocated throughout the course of that meeting. So the chasing people is already being done for you. So now when I go into the tasks section, all the tasks that came out of from the dashboard, from the event, so tasks that were created via the event, via the meeting, via the dashboard, they're all sitting here. So again, as president, I'd come here and I'd look at all the things that are yet to get done this year. So when I'd run my meeting, one of the meeting agenda items was tasks, and we'd flick over to the tasks section and run through this list and say, okay, what's due this week or what's due this month? And we'd run through this list.
Okay. All right.
And that way we.
Yeah. Okay. This is terrific. So the obvious question is, how do you guys get paid? What are the fees?
Yeah. So we have an annual fee. It's $11.88 a year for the Pro plan, which is unlimited, all the things.
Thanks for watching. That's where we'll leave Rick and Isaac with that onboarding. If you'd like to run through it with me or anyone else on the team, get in touch via tidyhq.com. Go to our Contact Us page and say good day.